I think it's fair to say that this is not the journey from Downing Street to Buckingham Palace that she was envisaging. She only took office as Prime Minister on July the 13th this year. She is now returning to the palace in very different circumstances. Few would ever have imagined we'd be talking about it in terms like this, Chris.
No, and, you know, we were looking at very similar scenes, last summer when Theresa May went off to the palace and came back. And she made that speech when she was talking about, you know, looking after those who had been forgotten, those who thought that society had left them by. She made that very powerful speech. Many people thought that would be her success, her electoral success. And it ended in spectacular failure last night. So she's now driving off to Buckingham Palace. Remember, Theresa May is the Queen's 13th Prime Minister, and I think it's fair to say this morning the Queen will be getting her 14th Prime Minister, probably a little bit sooner than she thought she might when she went to bed last night. But
it does reinforce, doesn't it, that at moments like this, constitutionally, these aspects of it are key, not least with all of the uncertainty in the wake of last night's vote.
Yes, and remember, the Queen must always have a Prime Minister. So if you think back to 2010, Gordon Brown stayed on as Prime Minister for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all the way to Tuesday, where they tried to sort out exactly what was going on with the coalition. So even though she's looking like she's going to run a minority administration at the moment, the Queen will have a Prime Minister, and they'll have the conversation in one of the private rooms of Buckingham Palace shortly. But it's certainly not the conversation that Theresa May thought she would be having with the Queen when she announced this snap election all those weeks ago.
So the Prime Minister's car making its way along the Mall, having gone beneath Admiralty Arch, heading now towards the Victoria Memorial, of course. One can only imagine what must be going through her mind, and indeed that of her husband, because, of course, infamously, this was a decision made on the hillside of a Snowdonia walk, Chris. It seems a lifetime ago already.
Yes, you wonder whether now, if you go on a walk in Snowdonia, you should think twice before committing those thoughts to a decision. As she told us, I think she told Robert Peston, didn't she, the day of the announcement of the snap election. So, look, we're just following her car down the Mall. She'll be very soon at the Queen Victoria Monument. There we are, just about to go on to that big roundabout, which is in front of Buckingham Palace, which houses that monument that was built after Queen Victoria died. She'll drive into the quad, into the centre of Buckingham Palace. She'll be met there by with the Queen's equerry. He's an RAF man. He's Wing Commander Sam Fletcher, so you'll see him shortly when she swings into the quad, and then he will escort her into one of the private rooms of Buckingham Palace, where she'll have the audience with the Queen. Alone, not with Philip, her husband. Sorry, when I say Philip, I mean Theresa May's
yes,
husband rather than the Queen's husband,
Phillips
of course.
right,
There'll be two Philips in Buckingham Palace.
It has been notable,
shortly.
actually, just in those closing days of the campaign, he was at her side permanently, wasn't he? I mean, this is one of the sort of key features of what we witnessed in the last few days.
Also, just really interesting in terms of what we were witnessing. We were witnessing Theresa May campaigning in really hard-to-win seats, but also in some of these defensive seats. And so you can imagine that the tone did start to change within her circle, and her expectations did start to change, while still, you know, being ambitious, but in some seats, but nevertheless, you know, probably realising that things weren't going her way.
I think we can see, I think we can just about see the car having pulled up to the top right of that shot.
Yes, I think,
as I understand it, she will go in through the King's Steps.
Yes, the Prime Minister's car will pull in at the bottom of the steps there. There will be a picture of this later, but it's not being offered up for us to take live. Interestingly, I don't think you'll have any images of Theresa May meeting the Queen today. She obviously has met her as her Prime Minister many times before. She has the weekly audience with her. But, of course, we can speculate. There were points last night when people were wondering whether Jeremy Corbyn would be making this journey today and going up those steps and being met by the Queen's equerry and off to see Her Majesty for the first time as Prime Minister.
And then, of course, this precedes her then forming a government, and it's who serves in that government now that there'll be very many questions about.
Yes, she's clearly made the decision that she's going to run a minority administration backed up with that, not a formal deal with the DUP, the 10 MPs that the DUP have delivered from Northern Ireland, but that's clearly her decision. And here we are, we're in the quad now, and this is the car's obviously already gone in. We'll get those pictures turned around for you as soon as we possibly can. But, you know, the conversation she'll have with the Queen is that, yes, Your Majesty, I can form a government and I can lead that government, but she doesn't have enough of her own MPs to do it alone.
And we'll wait to see what she says when she returns to Downing Street. We're going to take a short break now, but we'll have all the latest on that trip to Buckingham Palace very soon. Do stay with us.